So I don't guide on this river anymore, but I did for years, and it is still one of the more popular rivers that we guide on in Central Texas. It's kind of the end of the season though, so I'm down here picking up some boots and waders that we leave here at the river for our clients. We mostly fish this one during the winter, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is whether being a fishing guide is a real job or not. This bridge here brings back a lot of memories. A buddy of ours who was also a fishing guide, there'd be a bunch of guides with boats lined up here in the morning waiting for our clients, and he liked to drive by really slow like this guy is driving by right now and yell, "Get a real job." It was funny, but there was a little bit of maybe being a fishing guide ain't a real job. This particular guy, the guy who liked to drive by, Bill, he's no longer with us, unfortunately. He had a very successful career in the tech industry, decided to quit that, bought himself a house on the river, and set up a guide business. So, yeah, is being a fishing guide a real job? All right, I've got about an hour to get back to my house. Let's talk about this. So I started guiding part-time when I was working at the Austin Angler sometime in the mid-90s. It's 2025 right now. And I guided out of the shop until July of '04. And at that point, the Austin Angler shut down. It had been there for 23 years. I was fortunate enough to have kind of gotten in on the front end of all this internet stuff. And I actually put up my Alvin.com, which is still up to this day. I put that site up in '01. So when the Austin Angler shut down, I had the opportunity to try to buy out the shop and keep it going. My old boss, Larry Sunderland, awesome dude, was gonna make me a great deal. And I had a partner, and you know, he's a legit businessman. He's been very successful up until this day, 20 plus years later. So he could have made it happen. And, I knew everything about the business at the time, felt pretty confident, that we could do this. But as we were crunching numbers to try to make it happen, we kind of realized that the only part of the business that consistently turned a profit was the guide service. And it was also the part of the business that had the lowest overhead. So at that point, kind of a light went off in my head, and I'm thinking, man, sounds like a guide business is the way to go. And I had been managing the shop, doing the buying at the shop. And I guess I was the head guide. And when Larry shut the place down, he actually gave me the email list and the mailing list. So I basically hit the ground running. There were some tough years in there, to be for sure. But over the years, I have made a living for myself, supported my family once I had a family. Initially, I did not have a family, and it was kind of easy to get going. But that's like it is with any job. You start off, at the bottom of the totem pole, the bottom of the ladder, whatever you want to call it. And over time, you kind of work your way up. So in that regard, I do think that fly fishing being a fly fishing guide or a fishing guide in general is a real job. And here's a couple of the other reasons why I think so. Number one, you can make money. I have supported my family, like I said. I've made pretty good money over the years. I know several other guides who work for us, and that's all they do. That's how they support their families. And it is a good way to make money. It's a hard job, physically it's hard. There's emails to answer, there's phone calls to answer. And if you're a solo guide, it's definitely more than most people's real jobs, because if you work a 9 to 5, you get off at the end of the day, you leave your job at home and you're done. Whereas a fishing guide, you work, you're on the river, say you do a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. trip. Well, you probably got to get up, depending on what kind of commute you got and whether you're having to provide lunch for your clients or not. You're getting up at least 5:30, maybe even earlier, prepping, driving, and then you get on the water and you do a full day of rowing or poling or whatever, wading, whatever type of fishing you're doing. And then you get off, you drive home, and then you got to do all the administrative stuff that you couldn't do during the day. Replying to emails, calling people. And if you're a full-time working guide, after you do all that stuff, or maybe before you do all that stuff, you got to prep for the next day. You got to wash the boat. You got to tie flies. You got to, who knows what. But there's just a ton of stuff that you have to do to prep for the next day. So unlike a real job, a 9 to 5 job, there's not really any downtime. If you're working every day, you're probably working early in the morning until late at night every day. So a lot of times I wish I would have actually gotten the real job. The other thing about it is people look at fishing guides and say, I like to catch fish. I'm pretty good at it. I could be a guide. And maybe you could be, but there's a lot more to it than just catching fish. There's dealing with clients. There's, making sure you have all the proper, licenses and permits and all that kind of stuff. Lots of behind the scenes stuff that doesn't have anything to do with fishing. You have to deal with your clients. Some people are easy to deal with. Some people not so easy to deal with. And if you have a regular 9 to 5, it's pretty much a given. You got the same boss every day. You got the same coworkers every day. With this gig, you got new clients every day, different weather every day. And there's just so many variables that it really does kind of keep you on your toes. The other thing I remember somebody asking me once, or another fishing guide kind of lamenting to me, he had gone to college and gotten a degree and had assumed he was going to have this one particular career path, and his family had sort of wished that he had gone down the career path, got the real job, the 9 to 5, but he was a fishing guide. And he felt kind of bad about it. But I had a totally different take on it because I contemplated the real job, the 9 to 5, going down that path. And what I realized was in most fields, most careers, to get to the point that I'm at now in my career, my field, I probably would have had to have gotten a PhD. And that's kind of what I told my buddy. I was like, well, you should think about it this way. Like, we're doing PhD level work in our chosen fields. I mean, we're fishing guides, you know, and both of us are pretty good fishing guides. And so, you know, we're at the top of our chosen professions. You know, we're PhDs, we're doctors, you know, we're, you know, about as far as we can go in our chosen fields. And that is something to be proud of. That is something that you can tell your family, like, hey, I'm one of the best of my chosen field. So I don't know if that qualifies being a fishing guide as a real job, but I feel like it's a real job, and it has been a really great job. So I think this chosen profession has helped me not just make a living, support my family, all that, but the whole self-reliance, you know, like this is, there was no career path. I had to make it up as I went along. I had to trust myself. I had to make really major decisions, you know, like, should I do this? Should I go there? Should I move? Should I, you know, what should I do? It was all down to me. I mean, you know, I had lots of help along the way. You know, I'm not saying I created this whole concept of being a fishing guide in Central Texas, although there were not very many fishing guides in Central Texas when I started. So yeah, it's really been, it's really helped my confidence as a person to be successful in this non-traditional field of employment. So whether it's a real job or not, I don't care. Makes me happy, and I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I possibly can. All right, thanks for watching the video. If you like this kind of stuff, give it a thumbs up. I really am curious to hear everybody's take on this. I feel really fortunate to be in this place in my life, and I want to thank you for listening to this story. And yes, please share some of your thoughts. Let me know what you think about my career choice, your career choice, life in general. Anyway, hopefully I will see you in the next video. And in the meantime, good luck on the water.